The Deputy President William Samoei Ruto is clearly outwitting, outmaneuvering, and outsmarting President Uhuru Kenyatta and his elder brother Raila Odinga on two things: messaging and propaganda. The DP is using clear messaging and proper and effective propaganda to attract more Kenyans to his side. And it's actually working for him. Let me take you to Kisumu. On Tuesday, Kenyans celebrated Madaraka Day in Kisumu. The Deputy President was present in Kisumu. And he was trending. He was trending when he arrived, and he was trending when he left. Why was the Deputy President trending when he arrived? His dressing was top-notch. The DP was on a brown shoe. He had a white khaki, kind of white or whitish khaki, which symbolized peace. He had a black designer shirt with the yellow and other colors here. But yellow was actually prominent. Then at somewhere here, there was a writing there: the hustler. So basically, that shirt or that t-shirt was meant to pass a message to the president and to Kenyans. And the DP effectively passed that message. And most Kenyans probably did not realize that. Let me tell you how he began. The khaki was to attract young people, that dressing code. And indeed, it attracted young people to it. Then the top there was a political message. The Deputy President was reminding President Uhuru Kenyatta about their first term in office. The black shirt and the yellow colors simply symbolized the URP, the United Republican Party. That's the party which formed the government in the first term of Jubilee. In fact, URP and TNA, which was President Uhuru Kenyatta's party, TNA was associated more with red. URP was associated more with black and with yellow. And that's why the DP was in that color. And somewhere here, it was written, the hustler. Again, the Deputy President was representing the hustler at that event. So the DP effectively communicated his message to the president politely, to Kenyans politely, without majority of Kenyans even realizing. Then when the Deputy President was leaving, he now employed propaganda. When he arrived, he applied communication strategy. When he was leaving, he now employed propaganda. Now, when the Deputy President was leaving, there was a group of people, crowd, the entire crowd was actually waiting outside, but not for the Deputy President. This crowd tried to stop the president in the morning, and when the president, because as per the protocol, the president left first, they tried stopping the president, they could not. So when the DP arrived, then they managed to stop the DP. For those who followed it very closely, at some point the DP was not even sure. He was even telling his driver to go, but he could not go. So when he get off his car, the crowd cheered him. His team took photos and they took videos of this crowd. And before any other person knew, his entire team was already circulating how the Deputy President was received. In fact, anybody who was coming from Mars and landing to Kenya would have imagined that those people were actually there for the Deputy President, that probably the Deputy President had organized a rally in Kondele, and that was the turnout. But when Raila Odinga left, the entire crowd again escorted him from Kondele up to Kibuye, some even up to town. But because the Deputy President knew the importance of propaganda, he circulated these photos and this video very fast. So before Kenyans knew, the Deputy President was again trending. That's how communication is supposed to be. He was using clear messaging and he used effective propaganda. So in this video today, I want to explain to you guys how the Deputy President has actually outwitted and outmaneuvered President Uhuru Kenyatta and his brother Raila Odinga since the handshake up to now. But before we do that, if you're watching this channel for the first time, I want you to take a second or two and click the subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. Now let us get back to business. If there is something which President Uhuru Kenyatta has failed, it's messaging. And if there is something which Raila Odinga has failed, it's messaging. President Uhuru Kenyatta, for example, has done so much for the people of the larger Mount Kenya region. But if you ask these people, they will tell you that the president has done nothing to them. The president was in Nyanza the other day and he commissioned projects which are not even more than 30 billion. And the people of the larger Mount Kenya region now believes that the president has done more for the people of Nyanza than their own people. But the truth is messaging. The president messaging is not effectively being communicated to the people of the larger Mount Kenya region. But the deputy president has effectively used messaging and propaganda to succeed where the president and Raila Odinga has failed. Let's begin with number one, handshake. Was the handshake a good thing or a bad thing? It was a good thing. The country was bleeding and everything had stalled. As a matter of fact, when Jubilee came into power, the deputy president himself was on record inviting Raila Odinga to join hands with them to rule this country. But we all know that the moment the handshake happened, the deputy president decided not to support it because he knew that Raila Odinga was going to effectively use that handshake to kick him out of the government. So the deputy president's strategy was simple. Go to the people who supported or who voted for Jubilee and convince them that Raila Odinga opposed Jubilee and should therefore not join government. So up to today, President Uhuru Kenyatta is not able to convince the people who voted for him that the handshake is good. Why? Because the deputy president went ahead of him, convinced the people, and up to now he's struggling to win back those people. Let's go to number two, which is corruption. After the handshake, President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga came up with the 9-point agenda. And one of them was corruption. And this corruption was actually going to nail the deputy president, William Ruto, because the deputy president was being associated with all corruption scandals in this country. And at some point, he was being nailed. But again, an opportunity came for the DP. COVID came. Allies of the president found their hands deep inside COVID. The DP has effectively used that slight opportunity to stop any discussion on corruption. So today, nobody in government can talk of corruption. Anytime you try talking about corruption, the only thing they'll tell you is COVID billionaires. That simple. So the DP has used that. In fact, at some point, he even made it clear, made people believe that the war on corruption was being used to target him or to stop him from succeeding President Uhuru Kenyatta. The president has not effectively communicated, and Kenyans are wondering whether the war on corruption was actually genuine or was actually about the deputy president. So it boils down to communication, messaging. Let's go to number three, which is the Building Bridges Initiative process. Was the Building Bridges Initiative process a good process? In my considered opinion, it was one of the best things, if you ask me. By devolving more money to the counties, it means even if Raila Odinga will not be the president in the next election, then the counties in Nyanza would get more money to achieve whatever they wanted to do. It would mean that even if William Ruto will not become the next president of the Republic of Kenya, his people of Uasin Gishu and his people of Nandi will not go begging for money from the executive. But what happened? Propaganda. The DP convinced Kenyans that the Building Bridges Initiative process is actually going to benefit only two people. That is President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga. Why? Because the executive is being expanded. So he managed to convince people like that. And he also convinced people, Kenyans, that BBI was not a priority. The worst part for the president and Raila Odinga is that COVID also came. And with the coming of COVID, so many people lost their jobs, businesses collapsed. But the truth of the matter is that the Building Bridges Initiative narrative was not effectively sold. The messaging was not coming out very clearly. If you ask anybody why BBI was good or is good, they were not telling Kenyans these specific issues, but they were only focused on probably the expanded executive. They were not explaining to Kenyans how this BBI was going to address the issues of unemployment, how it was going to address the issues of corruption. So the DP won there. Effective use of propaganda and messaging. Let us go to the hustler narrative. The hustler narrative was actually coined by Mutai Ngunyi, the professor of Kenyan politics. And during that time, Mutai Ngunyi coined this because he knew so well that the deputy president was going to run for the presidency, and Kenyans were not going to easily support the idea of another Kalenjin. So he wanted a way of selling Ruto as someone who is poor, as a poor candidate. And Ruto has taken over this, and he added the dynasty. So dynasty and hustler narrative. So today in this country, so many poor people are associating with the hustler narrative. They are associating with the hustler narrative because they are seeing Ruto as the representative of the hustler narrative. Ruto sold this idea that he was a chicken seller. The truth of the matter is that Ruto, even if he sold chicken just like some of us. When we grew up in the village, I mean, you need a pen, you'd go sell one chicken there and there. But the truth is, Ruto never sold chicken after school. He never struggled. Ruto became a billionaire while still in the university. He made his money through corrupt deals in Kanu. That's the honest truth. Through the youth for Kanu, where Jirongo was their boss. But he's managed to effectively sell himself as a hustler. Again, when he started the wheelbarrow movement, the DP realized so fast that the wheelbarrow movement was not selling. This idea of giving graduates wheelbarrow, people had issues with it. So he immediately withdrew that wheelbarrow thing. And that's how effective communication and messaging is working. Now let us go to the to the number 5, which is his current strategy, which is bottom-up approach. You see, anybody coming to this country would not imagine that William Ruto is the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. Would not imagine that this is the same person who during campaigns promised to provide Kenyans, youths, with jobs. Nobody would imagine that Ruto was actually part of Jubilee. That this is the same man who would explain to Kenyans how Jubilee government has provided millions and millions of jobs to youths. He's now coming up with a bottom-up approach. And by doing that, he's trying to run away from the current model of Jubilee. So yes, he's using very clear messaging. And these messages are actually getting into the heads of Kenyans. And Kenyans are not asking questions. You know, when you have a clear message and you deliver that message in a very clear way, people will easily understand. But you see, Uhuru Kenyatta is in power. The likes of David Murathe are the ones who are responding. What are they saying? Nothing. They're just bragging, issuing threats. Kenyans hate threats. Kenyans hate people who try to intimidate them. Atwoli, what is he saying? Nothing. Just threats and the rest. And lastly, let us look at Jubilee performance. Has Jubilee government performed? In your own eyes. Let me read through the comments. Do you think Jubilee government has performed? Yes or no? William Ruto has effectively used also propaganda and clear messaging to either take credit for Jubilee performance and run away from Jubilee failures. When a road is being launched somewhere, the DP would always explain how Jubilee government has performed. If you listened to the deputy president's speech while in Kisumu, he was very clear that under the leadership of the president, Kenya has really developed. While on the ground, the deputy president is always telling these people how they have failed, how is going to be the best, how the government has failed. So today in this country, when we talk of Jubilee failures, then Raila Odinga is being tied to those Jubilee failures. Why? Because he had a handshake with Uhuru Kenyatta. But William Ruto only wants to be tied to Jubilee successes. When you try to talk of Jubilee failures, they will tell you that Ruto is not part of government. He's been kicked out. That Raila Odinga is part of government. But Raila and his team are also not communicating. They're not reminding Kenyans that William Ruto had his day. 5 good years. What was his performance during that time? So the DP is a very shrewd politician. And if there's something which is going to fail President Uhuru Kenyatta, it is basically communication. The president and his team have actually failed him. They're not communicating anything positive for the president. And if they're trying to communicate, it's not coming out clearly. For example, what did you get out of President Uhuru Kenyatta's Madaraka speech last week? Me, really, I didn't get something because the speech is too long. Kenyans have a poor reading culture. He needed to have a summarized version of whatever he wanted to speak. For Raila Odinga, I think he must agree that his communication team have actually failed him. He needs a new strategy to counter the deputy president. I don't know what to think. Thank you guys. And if you're watching this channel for the first time, take a second or two and click the subscribe button. And to the subscribers, I want to continue. Thank you guys for your continued support. But personally, if you ask me, I think William Ruto has effectively used clear messaging strategies, and he has also used effective propaganda where it is necessary to win the hearts of many people. Even on this channel, there's those people who are supporting the DP, not because the DP has done something, but because the DP has used clear messaging to them, and he has effectively applied propaganda on them. Why do you think the people of Central Kenya are actually supporting the DP? Is the DP the best thing to ever happen to them? No. It's because of propaganda, and it's because of clear messaging. Thank you guys, and please, may you have a good day. Until next time, it is Lee Makwiny. Thank you guys. And by the way, Gideon Moi is drifting towards Raila Odinga. What is he up to? That's going to be our next video. Thank you and have a good day.